two. Good morning, everybody. It looked like, honestly, it looks like you guys are expecting to hear something here. We do. That's so we can hide. We don't want you guys to recognize us. We don't want to be asked difficult questions. So we put these on. Just try not to be noticed. Anyway, thanks for coming. It's great to be here at the birthday bash, and we were here last year for and we talked a lot about the 2019 model. We're here this year. We're also going to be talking about the 2019 model year, and so it's good to see so much interest in the 6th year of production of the C7. So bear with us as we tell you as much as we can tell you today. And we'll be around this weekend to answer almost none of your questions. Okay, who's got the clicker? All right. So we always start with kind of a review of the past year, and this year will be no different. So you have to bear with us until we get to some of the stuff maybe that you're interested in. So, like I said, great reception for the 7th generation car. See tons of them out there. We've had a really, really awesome run. Still selling them, pretty well, and still doing very well in the media. Car and Driver 10 Best again this year. Thank you very much. And honestly, it seems like that could be sort of a no-brainer. Okay, you get on the list, same car, of course it could be better. Actually, it's not like that at all. You start from scratch each year, and there's new competitors each year, and the editors at Car and Driver really have a tough time picking 10 cars. And so you have new entries, and it's not necessarily in your market segment. Should I stop while you take a picture? We're interrupting the progress. Okay, hang on. Back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, anyway, so we don't take this for granted. It's awesome to be able to be included on this list each year we achieve it. Still winning lots of comparisons. This one against a $273,000 Aston Martin. So price, take price out of it, and the car is extremely competitive with anybody out there. In fact, I know customers who actually have both cars or have other very expensive competitors, and the Corvette's the car they choose to drive most of the time. In terms of racing, how many of you guys went to the racing banquet last night? Oh, quite a few of you. So you heard, you heard nothing? Well, it ain't going to be much different this morning. Anyway, the headline is, last year, in spite of winning only one race, we won the drivers and team championships. I'm sure they mentioned that last night. You guys all know about the balance of performance, where they keep slowing us down, and so we have to try to win races without having the fastest car. But we do have the best team, and that's why they're consistently taking advantage of every opportunity and every race, fighting to the end to get as high a place as they can. And so you can see the consistency top to bottom each race, and so they can keep us from winning, but they can't keep us from winning. It's amazing what the team does. And we're continuing our trend of not winning races again this year, so we're on the same path. But we hope we can use the same strategy. Other manufacturers honestly get tired of not winning, and so they complain to the race organizers, and so there's constant pressure on the balance of performance to have more sharing of the championships. But we're really not interested in that. So
remind Doug that we did get a podium at Sebring. He forgot already.
What's that?
We did get the podium at Sebring.
Was that Doug?
Yeah.
Doug, is that you? How am I doing, Doug? Okay, enough of racing. So we always talk about kind of the review, or year in review in terms of sales and what people are buying, and so Harlan's going to go through that.
Yeah, and this is the luxury sports car segment that we compete with in the showroom. And the great thing about the tie-in with racing is a lot of the same cars we race against, we compete with on the showroom floor and for you. So I want to thank everybody here for continuing to keep Corvette #1 in the luxury sports car segment in first place, solidly in the lead. And I think it says a lot for the 7th generation car to keep going strong like it has been. If we look at, I know you guys like to see the details here. So we look at the 2019 year so far. This is through beginning of April, so pretty recent data. You can see how the different models are doing. And again, you can see the Stingray Coupe 1LT is getting pretty high up. As you see, that's a great car. Obviously, people have recognized the value in that, and that's why that's continuing to do really well. The Grand Sport, most people go to the 2LT. On the Grand Sports continues also very strong showing. Z06 also holding its own, and then look at the ZR1. We're almost 2,600 ZR1s already for the year, and it's been a big success for the ZR1. Again, almost 28,000 2019 so far. And there's a little bit more details, you know, I won't get into all this, but some of the interesting things, the 8-speed paddle shift automatic continues to run pretty high, 82% on the Stingray. The black wheels, we always have that debate, black wheels, chrome wheels. Looks like the black wheels are winning so far. You know, we have a lot of wheel options available on the Stingray now. Let's go to the Grand Sport. It's kind of cool about a little over 20% still going for the Heritage package, getting the hash marks and stripe options. Red brakes are very popular. Red brake calipers on the Grand Sport. Again, black wheels about on half of the Grand Sports. And then on the Z06, you see again higher things like that competition seats, the ground effects. Does really well. The carbon flash, and about 40% total get the carbon fiber ground effects on the Z06. Again, black wheels, 57%. And then on the ZR1, about the ZTK package, a lot of people call it the high wing package, the performance, you know, running about 70% there. And then the Sebring Orange package, really doing well, about 27% ZR1's getting the Sebring Orange, about 2/3 are getting the competition seat. So, and again, carbon flash wheels most popular on the ZR1 as well. So colors, everybody loves colors. Obviously, Arctic White continues to be the #1 color. You look at black and torch red do well. Look at the Sebring Orange, 4th place. Really, Sebring Orange has really been a massive hit. We thought it would do well, even doing better than we had thought. Again, you got the Admiral Blue and Watkins Glen. I mean, those two were replaced during the middle of the year by the Shadow Gray, which is starting to move its way up, and the Elkhart Lake Blue are two newest colors also. And then on the interior side, the black and the red, Adrenaline Red always does well too. Okay, so we're going to start to talk about, again, 2019. We started this model year really early. Actually started late January 2018, so it's been a long model year. And ZR1 started in March. One of the things, though, we did do, and most of you know about this, was the change to the oil switched over in 2019, the 0W40. And the great thing about that is that you can use it for both street driving and track driving. So it's a great oil that you can use in both purposes. And then if you have an earlier 7th generation car, all the way back to 2014, you can use it as well, the same way. So let's do a little review on the ZR1, which is our newest car.
So I'm curious, how many of you in here have a ZR1? What's wrong with the rest of you? That's our latest thing. Okay, thanks. So, yeah, I mean, last year was awesome. introducing the ZR1, and I wanted to put this slide up because a lot changes over the course of a year. So we introduced the car in Dubai. Tom Peters and I had the privilege of going over there representing the whole team, introducing the car to the world. The Middle East is an up-and-coming market for us. Lots of folks over there can afford to buy the car and have multiple cars. So it was a nice place to do a global reveal, and things change a lot over a year. And in fact, Tom Peters elected to retire earlier this year. So I've worked with Tom for a really, really long time. In fact, Kirk, in fact, all of us. Tom Peters was a font of creativity unlike anybody I've ever met. A true free spirit and really unconstrained thinker. So he didn't just think outside the box, he lived outside the box. He was always outside the box. He didn't even know where the box was. So, but that creativity really gave life to many of the Corvettes that you've seen actually in history, including the 7th generation and eventually the 8th generation too. So I want to give Tom a shout out. His contributions are going to live in the Corvette community forever. So you guys have, I'm sure, read all the articles about the car, 212 miles an hour, 755 horsepower, 715 foot-pounds of torque. I drove one down here from Michigan, and the car still gets a huge amount of attention. Everybody's looking at it. You're driving down the highway and you sense people coming up and surrounding you and trying to take pictures. It's a little bit scary because you're wondering what they're up to, but the car still is a magnet, and it still really sets a performance standard for the world. We've had awesome recognition for the car all around the world in media and with customers. One of the reasons is, the performance is driven by the aerodynamics of the car, and this is the first time we actually did a version of the car where we didn't just change one end of the car or other. We made massive changes to the car, including a whole new front clip for the engine integration and for all the cooling for that monster motor. And we actually have here, I don't know if people recognize how much of an expert we have here on aerodynamics. It's very rare that somebody in the studio is also a technical expert aerodynamically, and we depend on Kirk Benyon to straddle those two worlds, because one tends to be a very technical, very sophisticated world with a lot of computational fluid dynamics, also wind tunnel testing. You have to integrate all that thinking into practical constructions in the car, and also that look good. So you're trying to balance a bunch of different priorities, and Kirk Benyon is one of the key people who makes that happen. So he's going to do a quick run through of some of the aero on the car.
Okay, great. Thank you, Taj. Next slide. I was hoping you were going to hit that for me. Anyways, we spent a lot of time on the front of the car, obviously, because that's where the air is at its highest pressure. That's what you can see with this image right here. And some of the ribbons, that's also part of our CFD analysis of that. So we'll do iterations of this as we change the car. And this is kind of our first tool of learning in that when we're dealing with the car. The underside, very, very important. As you see, this front splitter, it has kind of a belly pan shape to it. This is huge in creating downforce for the car. When we talk about 950 pounds of downforce, it's really the total system. I know a lot of people like to look at the rear wing thinking that's where all the downforce is, and it really isn't. It's a culmination of all these parts together. Obviously, you can see how flush the lower floor is as well. And then the hood, you can see, we also depend on that. There's an extractor there. We're pulling air out from behind the front radiator. That also adds to the downforce of the package. Now the rear wing, I would tell you the unsung hero on this package is this little deck lid spoiler, because that's very influential in keeping the air attached to the bottom side of the wing. Here again, it's a total system The wing is very efficient, obviously. And the reason we run it, the race car runs it, is because it's huge in getting downforce, but it's also great in that it's a low drag part to put on the car. And here's a comparison of the fronts. Cooling is huge for us as well. And that with an engine like this in ZR1, we're trying to grab every gob of air we can out of the front. Typically at the center is your highest velocity, but in this case, we're also looking to pull air in from the corners and that. So it's really a 3 radiator system up front as far as the main heat exchangers. But overall, I think, Ted, we're like 13, I think, in the car. And then this just goes into some of the details, and that, you know, we love coming to these customer events and that, and meeting all of you, but I always like to tell people when I go back, I said, you know, right now no one's telling me we're putting too much carbon fiber on the car. So we keep looking at every opportunity to add carbon fiber to the car, and you can see where it's not only part of the hood, but it's also the fender bezel, front splitter, rear wing, and the interior. So it's really a complete package. And then we have the Sebring special package. You can see that out there in the main hall, and that this is very impactful. We were bringing orange into the fold, and you know, even though this color, it's our second year with this color, it was still a big deal for us to get bright orange into the palette. I would tell, you know, talking with a lot of you through the years, it's kind of like we've done like a light orange, a dark orange, a red orange, and I'd always get the question like, well, when are we just going to do orange? Why can't you guys do bright orange? And so we were glad to finally get there. And here's another shot. This shows all the content. There's some unique things here that we've done that we haven't done before. Like the rockers have a paint mask operation where we have the actual brake caliper color as an accent on the rocker, to name one of the details. This shows the Jake hood stripe. Of course, it wouldn't be a Corvette if we didn't offer a Jake stripe for the car. So that's very impactful. And then the interior, special bronze accents. You know, that's here again. That's something new for us. Ties in well with the orange and that. So I'll let Taj take it.
So you've probably seen all the covers for a relatively low volume car. You know, a version of one of our cars, and we've seen this before, whether it's Z06 or Grand Sport. We bring out a new version of the car, and it gets lots and lots of attention. A lot of our competitors are very jealous of this. In fact, if you read the letters to the editors, people are writing and say, why is there a Corvette on the cover of every single one of your magazines? It's not really true, but it feels like it because we dominate so thoroughly. And that when you do a car like a ZR1, which makes this many headlines because of its performance, it's only more so. Some of the highlights, best of the best, Corvette ZR1 is one of the highest tech sports cars on the planet. It's the most powerful production yet. This is Rob Report, so this is selling to real high-end folks. Motor Authority, Best Car to Buy 2019. Very nice honor. Road and Track Performance Car of the Year. This is another pretty big award, and usually doesn't go to a version of a car, usually goes to like a whole new car, completely ground up. We think of the car as completely ground up because we do the chassis and we do the whole front end clip, all the aero package, the engine. You know, a lot of the car is completely new, but it's still a version of the C7 Corvette. So you don't typically win those, but here we won it, Performance Car of the Year. It's a refutation of that assertion, a hammer thrown into the Big Brother's twin clutch telescreen, a warp speed expression of a stubborn American independence. So it really is. Okay, see if you can guess who this is, who these fine-looking gentlemen are. One of them is here amongst us. Okay, Kirk.
Okay, you'll recognize the other guy is John Cafaro, obviously famous Hall of Fame inductee from 2000 and that. John, in our younger years, we would do some club racing, some SCCA racing and that. And you know, John's a great pal of mine, but there were times where he was like my big brother too. And that, so, you know, John and I, we enjoyed driving, enjoyed racing at an amateur level. Neither one of us was very angelic with our driving practices and that. So we would get called to the tower once in a while, and you know, this particular instance, we got the request to show up to the tower, and you know, a lot of times you couldn't tell if it was me driving or John driving, but John would be like, well, why don't you just go handle it? Go up to the tower, see what they have to say. So this would be like my third time going to the tower, and it was like, you know, they're usually very one-sided conversations, you know, a lot of screaming, yelling, slamming of clipboards, you know, maybe a coffee cup slammed down or whatever. But see, we were racing this black Camaro, and we were racing always against a black Mustang, and we were usually in the front 2 rows of the races and that. So, you know, it was we were kind of the show, because people love seeing that Ford versus Chevy battle and that, and every weekend we seem to deliver that to them. But in this case, I thought, well, you guys, you got 30 some cars behind you. You guys mix it up there. You know, you're driving us crazy. I think the people that went there loved it, but the race manager was like, we were just tipping him over. He was real uncomfortable with it. So naturally, they're talking to me, and you know, telling me, you got to calm down. You got to slow it down. You got to you know, keep it tight out there. And so naturally, I come out of the tower, and my competitors see that oh yeah, he's got a good yelling too. So he's going to be easy pickings for this next race. We'll have this one. So again, the race starts. We get out there, and we're like 2-3 laps in, and I've got this Mustang driver. We are banging doors going through this left-hand corner, and it's just like constant banging, banging, banging. And I'm like, you know, you're starting to get a little red misted in that, and you know, he picked the wrong corner to do that. That was the first mistake, because I wasn't going to give that corner up. And but anyways, I ended up, because I wasn't going to be forced off the track. This particular corner, you know, some tracks have turns that are more better than others, but this was one where fatalities have happened at this particular corner. So this is where I am not going to go off. So I tuck it back in, nail the brake, get right back behind him. And then by some miracle, going to the next corner, his car loses its handling, gets a little sideways, and he ends up putting the rear end into the tire wall. And then it seems my front fascia just extended itself a little bit, and I just increased his corner entry speed just a little bit. And so, of course, the organizers like, now we're really in trouble. And so they actually pulled him in that first. And they probably talked to him for a good 2 hours, because, you know, the thing that you got to remember at the end of the day is amateur racing isn't about winning at all costs. It's about having fun in that. So, like I said, if he would have done that at any other corner, I would have been in trouble. But the fact that he picked that kind of corner, that was kind of his mistake. But anyways, you know, John and I enjoyed driving for about 5 years in that, and we did amass 25 wins in this car. So we you know, just like any racing, we had our ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we had a lot of fun, and we won a few races. So now getting on to the real drivers, the guys that really have the talent. The whole reason for the driver series is in this decal right here. You know, to have the drivers team that we have that can win 3 championships in a row. I mean, in road racing, you know, Doug, you'd have to tell us, but I have not seen that. You know, that is so rare of an occurrence to happen in American road racing and that. So what we want to do is we wanted to acknowledge these drivers and the fact that we have such a talented team. We've been able to keep these talented drivers together for so long. We created the Driver Series. So starting with, you can see the layout here. It was really good in that each driver wanted their car to be different. They each one had like a unique statement, a unique vision for their car. And it was kind of fun. It was fun for me because, you know, they're very passionate about how the car looks just as much as design is. And so this shows you of the 4 how different the cars can be. Next, please. And it's great to see them. I was here for Daytona for that when we debuted these, and talking with the drivers then. And it was fun because each driver wanted to tell the other driver that their car was the best one, of course. And then so they got into this good, healthy debate as to, well, mine's really, you know, Garcia and Tony was like, well, my car's really the best because it's most like the race car. The rest of you guys, you just got pretty cars. And next one. So starting with Oliver's car, when we did his talk with Oliver, Oliver has a very unique racing helmet. It's like a dark midnight blue with almost like a marble fluorescent orange, and that graphic is true to him, and that's what he really likes. And he came to me, he says, well, can we do a car that's like my helmet? And we got him close because we used our dark shadow blue, and we used our torch red, but this made for a very, very impactful package in that he was really pleased with. Next, please. And you can see we've taken that same color scheme, we reflected into the interior with the adrenaline red and black, so it's a nice match of interior, exterior. Next. So we got to Tommy Milner. You know, Tommy Milner is always he's our Captain America in that. So I said, you know, if we could do something that's maybe in the colors, the flag colors are, but maybe it's like Captain America's shield in that, where we use the silver along with the blue, and then you know, with the red accents, and then this became, you know, was very, very well received. Tommy was real happy with it, and there might be plans. I'm not sure if he'll get one, but like I said, he was really pleased with it that day, and I think his dad was in awe of it too. We showed, here's the interior, and that this is, what we tried to do is keep the interiors kind of straightforward. You know, if someone were to order the car, they can do some things to personalize the interior more if they'd like, but this is in keeping with supporting the exterior. Next, please. So Jan's car, and that, you know, we referenced the flags for his car, and you know, here again, white's a strong seller. The dark red stripe, here again, very popular. And that he did say to me, he goes, it's a little bit like the Ron Fellows car. And I said, well, that's not bad company to keep, because I would tell you in 2007 when we did the Ron Fellows car, that was something that Harlan and I put together fairly easily, much easier than it would be today. But we were at the Chicago Auto Show with the Ron Fellows car, and you know, we had upper management there, and they were debuting some other new models. They ended up picking Ron's car as the best in show. And that's, I was telling you, here again, that's not bad company to be in, but it was a neat time. Next, please. So here again, straightforward interior, solid, red, black, you know, black with the stitch package, very supportive of the exterior. Then we got to Antonio's car. Now, Antonio, when I was first talking with him, he's like, I want to do a bright red car. And I said, well, we can do that, you know, but you know, we're doing this flag idea that maybe we could do your car that references the colors from your flag in that. He was like, yeah, maybe, but I said, we could also do your car to where it'd be the one most like the real race car. And he was like, okay, I'm in. So next, please. Yeah, and here again, black with the yellow stitch package is just the perfect complement to his yellow car. And then, you know, we also offer this too, you know, the driver series cars that are something you can start with, you can modify them. You know, the idea with Antonio's car here is if you wanted to add the optional carbon fiber roof panel, you can do that. The other thing that we're doing special here for this car, you notice the car's had a Corvette Racing decal on the door. This is something that you can only get through the Corvette Museum, and that I would tell you, you'd have to see Betty Hardison. I refer to her as my business agent, but for donation, you can get a pair of these door decals. I'll install them for free this weekend while I'm here, but here again, this is another way of us endorsing the race team.
There's a couple other adjuncts to this. One is Chevrolet is looking at if anybody buys this car, they're going to get a photo of their car with the driver personally signed in a nice package. So that would come separately. So if you're a fan of one of the drivers, this would be an awesome way to showcase that. And you know, one of our great things about our racing is how accessible it is. If you come to a race, we typically have a Corvette Corral. You can park with all the other customers there. The race team typically comes over. You hear from Doug. The drivers usually show up. And quite often we'll do a celebrity choice where they go out and pick their favorite car. What do you think the odds are of the driver picking your car if it's one of these? Pretty good, I'd say.
And they also come with an interior plaque, a special interior plaque with the number, the sequential number of that edition, specific edition. So the ones we have on display outside, if you look at the plaque, they're the 4 #1 edition cars that are right here.
So it really was a long time coming, like Kirk said at the beginning. We really wanted to do something to acknowledge the performance of the race team and the driver specifically, because it is very rare that you see this kind of consistency season to season with this level of professional driver. Doug says it often, these guys could drive for any team. They choose to drive for Corvette, and we really wanted to express our appreciation for that by doing something like this for them. Okay, pace car. You talking about the pace car?
Yep. Each year, right now, we've had a chance within the Performance Studio to design this year's Indy Pace car, and this was designed by my coworker Adam Berry, who's, him and I are very similar in what we like on a car, and of course we do like stripes when it comes to pace cars and that. So this is our Long Beach red Grand Sport. Typically for the format for Indy is we build 4 of these cars. One goes to the museum, I think one goes to the winning driver. But what we also did is we did 50 additional cars. These are Stingray based that you can get. These are the ones that you can actually purchase in that. But here again, very impactful design. Looking forward to it pacing the race.
Okay, so we're finally getting to a transition. I'm curious, how many of you saw this announcement that we're going to auction off the last C7? So almost all of you. This was done in New York City. It was actually at a charity event. It's called Stephen Siller. I'm curious, how many people know what the Stephen Siller Foundation does? It's a pretty cool charity. It was started after 9/11. Stephen Siller, who's up in the upper left-hand corner, he was born to serve, I guess I'd say. He lost his parents at a very young age. He was a young boy, and he had every reason to grow up with problems. But he didn't. He grew up as an outstanding kid, joined the military. He was a hero in the Middle East. When he left the military, he came back, joined the fire department in New York City, and was actually working before 9/11 happened. He was like working the night before. He was off duty. He was driving home when he heard over the radio the building got hit by the planes, and he thought, I got to go back. I know it's going to be all hands on deck. I got to go back. He had gone through the tunnel. He turned around. They had shut down everything. He couldn't get back into the city. He had 60 pounds of firefighting gear in his trunk. He left his car, he put the 60 pounds in a backpack, and he ran 2 miles back through the tunnel, back to the towers. The first tower had gone down. He went into the second tower, he saved a bunch of people, and went back in and was in the tower when it fell. He, like many other first responders, typically young men, some young women also, but typically they leave young families behind. And what happens is, the breadwinners essentially lost their job. So you have somebody at home trying to raise young children with minimal benefits after they lose their lives on the job, or become seriously disabled in some way where they can't continue doing what they did. So the Siller Foundation was started, and it basically raises money to try to take care of some of that problem. So depending on the situation, sometimes they'll just pay off people's mortgage. If they have a house, they'll just pay off the mortgage, so at least that part of their financial life is taken care of. Really takes a burden off, because sometimes you see these families sort of spiral down into poverty because they lose their house, they can't make the payments, they can't work. So it's a very sad story that follows these heroes in our society. And so they may pay off the mortgage, and in some cases where people are seriously disabled, they'll build smart homes. So this is a home where somebody who's pretty seriously disabled can actually function fairly normally. So they have a lot of high-tech solutions to help people manage a lifestyle like that. So that's expensive, and the Siller Foundation is there to raise money. General Motors became involved with it some time ago and has raised $10 million so far. And so Mary Barra was actually being awarded a recognition at the event this year in New York City for General Motors' contribution. So she went and was given that award, and at her acceptance speech, she announced that we were going to auction off the last C7, which is going to be a black and red Z06. We're going to auction at Barrett-Jackson in Connecticut, so East Coast, on June 28th. I want to make sure everybody understands that car will not have been produced. We are still and will still be producing 7th generation cars for a while now. We haven't determined or announced the last date. That'll be coming soon. So this auction will actually occur well before the car is produced. So you're actually buying the rights to the car. So I want to make sure that was clear. But the whole point is that General Motors is donating that car, so every dollar of the proceeds coming out of that auction will go to the Steve Siller Foundation. So expect some announcements around the closing out of the 7th generation Corvette coming relatively soon. Okay, here's Mary. I had the privilege of driving Mary to that event. It was in New York, as I said. It was in a hotel right off Times Square. And so we decided to make the event a twofer because we knew we were getting to be about the time to announce when we were going to reveal the next car, the 8th generation car. So we thought, what better way to do it than take the car that we've been hiding from the world for the last couple of years and drive it right through downtown New York City, right through Manhattan, right through Times Square, and try to get a lot of attention to what we wanted to announce, which was the reveal date, 7/18/19. So this took a lot of organizing to do this. We had to sneak the car into the city, get it set up at a local garage. Mary actually had a very busy day all that day, arrived kind of just in the nick of time to get ready to go ahead and drive this car with the banner on the side with me driving. So she said, and I thought, that it was one of the coolest things we ever got to do in our whole careers at General Motors. We published a nice video. Whoops. Back. Which I hope to play. I'm trying. Let's see if it plays. There we go. So here we come out of our secret garage. And actually the streets were not closed. But what we did was we had a bunch of big black Chevy Suburbans trying to create a bubble around us. Because you can imagine, in New York City, lots of people gawking. Like I said, the traffic was not controlled. They didn't shut down the roads for us. They were not willing to do this. We did have NYPD on the corners trying to do a little bit of crowd control and a little bit of car control. And you can see the Suburbans here. But you can also see the other cars that are just kind of mixed in with us. A couple of happy campers there. And here we are arriving at the event. To me, one of the most remarkable things of this whole thing was organized by a guy in his 70s who was riding a bicycle. Here we are getting to the event. So really cool, really fun. You didn't see him, but the director of this whole show, orchestrating the whole thing, was this guy in his 70s. He was an avid bike rider. He's ridden his bike all the way across the country. I was talking to him about it ahead of time. He was riding this crappy 30-year-old woman's Raleigh bike. And he had some high-tech radios strapped to him. And he was riding out kind of in between the traffic. He rode a bike because that was the only way he could like fall back between cars when he needed to. He could be out front when he needed to. He could talk to all the people driving the Suburbans when he needed to. And he was basically the producer of the show. And he was telling me about all these fancy bikes he has, how he's into biking. And I said, well, why are you driving that 30-year-old crappy bike, and he said, it's the only bike that won't get stolen in New York City. And he went on to explain, sometimes he's off the bike, he has to set it down, he has to go talk to people, he wants to be there when it gets back. So that's why he rides that bike. You would have never guessed it though, he just looked like kind of a vagrant, you know, he's wandering in amongst us, but really fun, really cool event, and it was so weird to have been essentially hiding the car from everybody for all this time, to actually be out there and showcasing it. And there's a lot of articles been written, we got tons of media coverage. All we did was admit that yes, there's going to be a next generation Corvette, and yes, this is when we're going to reveal it. And so I know you guys don't have a ton of questions, and like I said at the beginning, we're not going to be able to offer much in the way of answers other than what we've already revealed. So I go back to this picture because there was a big debate over whether we wanted to acknowledge Zora Arkus Duntov with some Easter eggs on the car. We on the program team thought this was a cool idea, this would be fun. In fact, we use those little, we call them Zora heads, as an addition to our General Motors standard ID to indicate that we're insiders, so that lets us get into places that only Team Corvette people should get. So we had these stickers made and we put them on our IDs, and I suggested when we knew we were going to do this car, I said we should really hide some Zora heads on there, because I know what will happen is there'll be the big story and people will study the pictures, they'll find that and say, oh, that's really cool. They're acknowledging Zora as our predecessor, kind of the godfather of the Corvette, put it on the map, and it's the main reason why we're here today talking to you with 60 plus years of history. So we thought that'd be a really nice acknowledgement, and the people running the show said, no, 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 we have this all figured out. That sounds silly to us. Just the camo is fine, thank you. And I said, well, what do I do? Do I push the issue or just see what happens? So I brought a roll of Zora heads to the event. But literally minutes before Mary showed up, I pulled out the roll and I showed it to the head communications guy. He's like, that's really cool. Can I have some of those? So I peeled them off a few and I said, I'd like to put a few on the car. He's like, yeah, go ahead, do that. So right before we went out, I just went around and stuck them randomly on the car. And it turned out that it was a really fun thing because it happened exactly as we'd hoped. The whole thing got like a 24-hour news cycle, a lot of coverage, and then people started discovering it. Like there's arrows pointing to where I plunked them on there. And it kind of reinvigorated the story again. So just a nice little fun thing we did. There's a few shots. The reason why we look like we're cut out and pasted into the car is because they put a big overhead LED array because you're driving through New York with Mary and I in the car. You couldn't actually see anything. You couldn't see us. We were just in a dark hole. And so the producer said, well, we want to be able to see who's driving. So they put this bright array of lights in the roof panel. It's pretty fun. Maybe we should offer it as a production option for you guys who really want to showcase, want to make sure people see who's driving the car. So there we are. Two happy campers. Anyway, I said, the idea was to get a lot of attention. We want the world to be focused on us on 7/18/19 when we start to share the story of the next generation car. And it did just that. A lot of people really, really interested. People can be prepared ahead of time for focusing the world on the next gen Corvette. It's really important for us. You guys see, we don't advertise the car especially, and so the way people learn about it is through the media. And so we want to make sure we get excellent coverage as we start to go to market. In fact, if you want, I put this up here because this has the website if you want to keep up to date on what has been officially released. There still continues to be tons of media speculation out there, and we've said actually very little. It's funny because everybody's saying, oh, why are you guys taking so long? Why are you late? Well, we haven't even announced anything. We just announced that we're even doing the car. So how could we be late? Anyway, so this website will keep you up to date on and anything that's going on officially through us. And what we're showing you here, you may have seen it already, is the new cross flags for the new car. And this is actually the startup animation in the center stack. So when you get in the car, you know how your car starts up and it says Corvette by Chevrolet. This is the animation that you will see on the C8. So it's probably not as big a reveal as you were hoping for, but it's something. It's something that has not been official, that we have not showed to people. And we actually, Harlan is pulling it out, we actually have the first official real production badges up here that we can show you if you want to come up and look. And as an extra surprise, we already have pins made of the new cars, cross flags, and every one of you in here gets one. So we'll have team members. We'll have team members at the back that are handing these out. We thought it would be really fun for you guys to actually take away something that's brand new on the new car. So let me see if we got anything else. Anything else? Oh, okay. So here's a parade of all of the cross flags, and it's so nice that we get to do this, starting in 1953 and now extending in the foreseeable future. We're the longest running car nameplate in history, and with the 8th generation coming, that future is somewhat assured, at least for another generation. And so you see what's happening in the auto industry. It's very tough globally. A lot of cars are ending production. Not so for the Corvette. We think the Corvette's going to be around here for a long, long time. And anyway, it's really a tribute to you all, and thanks to you all, because we couldn't do what we do without you guys buying and enjoying the product and really being at the core of the whole Corvette community. It has tentacles into the economy in a bunch of different ways, but it all starts here in Bowling Green. Designed in Michigan, built in Kentucky. We race them around the world. We sell them around the world. And as long as we can keep doing that, there'll still be a Corvette.
And we know the 3rd generation started in 1968, so don't post on the forum that we don't know when it started.
No, our own history. Yes.
See, you guys write it down already.
So Kirk, did you want to say anything? I mean, this, obviously the design for the new cross flags, it's an evolution of what we've had, but it does come out of the exterior studio. It's one of the small details that we work on, in addition to the whole big car. But we think about it, about how to make it more futuristic each time, how more modern and current it can be. So Kirk, you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, no, you kind of can. It's neat to have the timeline up here because you can kind of see how the flags evolved. And for the modern era, I would tell you we look to keep making the flags a little bit faster. And then they sit on the nose of the car, so we see them as like a sculptural element as well. So anything we can do to make them look as fast as the rest of the car, we're kind of doing. So
if you look around the studio, you'll see lots of aerospace kind of imagery, jet fighters, high performance machinery, and that swept wing look evokes some of the most serious performance aircraft in the military. So that may be part of the inspiration. So that's the end of our formal. It's not? But wait, there's more? Oh yeah, that's right. We have something more. I know you thought, how could they possibly do more? How is that even possible? But we do have one more thing, and I think Harlan's going to take us through this. Next slide. There we go.
Okay, so The National Corvette Museum, as you know, is having its 25th anniversary, and we're going to do a raffle car. So we have reserved VIN 25 of the next generation Corvette to be the official 25th anniversary National Corvette Museum car, and raffle tickets are available if anybody might be interested in winning that special car. They're already here, and what, $25? $25, buy early, buy often, and so that's a great thing. And then there's also, and again, I have to give Kai Spaney, our plant manager, fellow board member, credit for this idea. We're going to make another next generation Corvette available for the National Motorsports Park, and we'll get some ideas and plans how we would use that. That'll be announced later, but that's going to be a really exciting addition to the museum and to the Motorsports Park, to be one of the first places in the world to have the next generation Corvette. So.
I really want to thank them for making this possible for all of us.
So the 25th anniversary at Labor Day is after the reveal, and so we'll be free, we'll be here, and so that's an event not to miss, I'm just saying.
And we'll bring
It's
some
gonna
cars.
be a big deal.
And Tom Peters will be here, being inducted to the Hall of Fame.
True, yeah, I think I forgot to mention that, Tom.
So he's a kind of a double thing, because he'll be, of course, the Hall of Fame career, but then he's retired now. He could probably tell you all kinds of stuff.
So, yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on Labor Day. So, right here. Okay, first question. I knew the first question we wouldn't be able to answer. We haven't said where the reveal is going to be. There's an extensive process to figure out who gets to go. It's by invitation only. Very, very complicated. You can imagine all the people, everybody from, media, all the journalists, automotive journalists around the world. Obviously, our dealer body, those of us who actually did the car, everybody from Michigan, everybody from Kentucky, all our suppliers. There's influencers, there's celebrities. You can imagine the list of people. So anyway, we're trying to compile that whole list, and the invitations will come out, and then we'll tell you where it's going to be. We'll call you. We can try to take some questions. We'll see if there's any questions. If we get 10 in a row we can't answer them. I would expect a simulcast, yes. Yeah. I can tell you it'll be everything the 11313 was and more. Yes, sir. You want mine? We were debating about whether we should even wear these. It's kind of a mixed.
How many people would wear this?
Now I'm not giving it away.
$5. We got to tell Brenda from our licensing to print some up.
We got a hit.
For the
Okay.
museum.
Other questions? Yes, in the red back here.
Is it truly going to be a 2020 or a 2021?
7, 18, 19. I'm just going to keep saying 7, 18, 19.
This is the answer to every question, pretty much.
Yes, here.
Do you expect to see some production of all models all at once?
The question is, are we going to phase out models? Are they all going to end at the same time? It's complicated.
We're still working that out.
But like it said in there, we have to communicate the plans of end of production to our dealers. Obviously, they have to plan for it. And so, like Harlan said, we're working out. It won't be too long before there's some kind of announcement around how we're going to organize the end of production.
And what time's the drive-by at the museum today?
Over here in the way. member of the board of the museum, with us.
What did I say? I can confirm there's a rumor that might happen. The question is, will there be availability through the museum for the reveal like we did on 113? Again, those details will follow. We have to first pick the location, and then, you know, there's a good chance we would do something like that again. But we didn't want
to come.
But don't bug anybody here yet, because they don't know.
How many of you would pay $1,000?
They get 2,000.
Donate $1,000. Okay, yes, in the back up there.
The date of the reveal, was that date chosen kind of at random, or do the numbers have particular significance to your program?
There's nothing random about anything that we do. Eventually you'll see all the reasons, but it's super complicated, obviously, with ending production, starting production, coordinating schedules, what else is going on in the world. It's very complicated, but that's the date we picked. Yes,
It's not like, though, if you add the numbers and divide them, you're going to come out with a secret code that'll give you the 0 to 60 time.
Don't tell them. We keep busy.
I've seen all the theories.
Yes, I'm sorry. Right on the wall.
Can you tell us which country where the reveal will be?
It will be on the planet Earth. I can guarantee you. We talked about Mars or the moon, but logistics were tough. Yes, standing up against the wall.
Are there going to be any new colors for the C8?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, there will be new colors.
Sometime during the life cycle of the C8, there will be new colors.
There's always going to be new colors. Chuck helps us out with that.
If Chuck doesn't stop us, he would rather just keep saying, paint them all black.
And it's white. He likes white and black.
White and black. Anyway, Chuck Valentini here, just want to recognize, runs the paint shop.
And all the great new, we get getting so many compliments on the new paint shop, the new paint finish, and Chuck's such a big part of that, so make sure you thank him for all his hard work, and the paint finish and quality of the new Corvettes have really been the best we ever had by far.
Yeah, and there's a tour going on, right? There's going to be a plant tour this weekend?
Already did.
There was.
How
Who
many
went on it?
people
Did anybody go?
went on that?
Did you get to go through the paint shop? Yes. Did you see there actually was a paint shop? It wasn't some secret thing where we're building a bunch of other stuff. It's actually a paint shop. Nobody believed us when we said that. They said, oh, that's not why. That's where you're building the new car. Yes, okay.
Not so much a question, because they're hard to answer right now, but do you happen to see one of the comments online after you sent out the B-roll that Mary was being driven by Clint Eastwood?
The dirty Harry Clint Eastwood, not the get off my lawn Clint Eastwood.
I do get that occasionally, but it's always a mixed blessing because he's 20-some years older than me. So, anyway, I like the Dirty Harry version. Anybody else?
Make my day.
Yes, right here.
First production car.
We don't set that in advance. But you can bet that we'll auction it off. So if you got more money than Rick Hendrick, probably get it. Anybody else? Yes, back here.
There will be no dual production of a front engine and a rear or a mid-engine car.
That sounds like a statement, not a question. We will be announcing the end of production of the C7. So I'm not saying there won't be some overlap. I'm just saying that there will be a clean break point. We're going to announce the end of production. We're going to sell the rights to that vehicle in June.
I heard that a little bit of news, just the tail end of it last night. I just wanted you to verify it if you can, that there's going to be 300 more jobs here in Bowling Green? And another 400.
Yes, that announcement was made yesterday. I don't know if Kai's here or Chuck, if you were there, do you want to talk about it? I know it was made yesterday. We're going to add a second shift at Bowling Green. We're going to employ, you hear about a lot of plant closures and people being laid off. Well, actually here in Bowling Green, we're adding a second shift. We're that confident that the new car is going to have enough demand to support a second shift indefinitely. Yes, right here.
Flags on your shirt, are they CA?
Yes, they are.
Well, it's hard to tell. Very nice.
Yes, right here.
You'll be making a right-hand drive version.
Pardon me?
You'll be making a right-hand drive version.
We got the Corvette Club of UK here. All my buddies. So they were really interested in that question, but we have to.
If we did, would you buy one?
But you said you
Are you
didn't
a
care.
ventriloquist?
You said it makes him a better driver to drive on left-hand drive, though.
Yes, well, the product details 7, 18, 19. And actually, that's just the beginning. You know how we work. There'll be a major rollout, and then there'll be news that follows.
How much time will we have, will you guys give us in nanoseconds between when we do reveal this car to ask us about what's coming after that one? Let's question back to the crowd.
Yes, go ahead.
This one is the question. Since the reveal 7/18/19, are there plans right now to have the car at Corvettes in Carlisle in August?
That's a good possibility since it is after 7, 18, 19.
We'll be interested in showing it off after the reveal.
Lance will be happy.
Oh yeah, Lance will be ecstatic.
In the middle here, above you.
When y'all debut the car, how about doing all the colors?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Show all the colors.
Oh, when we reveal the car, show all the colors that it will be available in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take that back. It's a request. Was your question, let me clarify your question. Was your question, do you want a car in every color at the reveal?
We will announce all the colors that will be available.
Right. We'll have to change this to 7, 18, 20. If you want a car in every color. We tried it, the car will not be in production then, so we're not just like cranking them out in every color. Chuck has to do a lot of work. There's a lot that has to happen. So we want to get the car out there. We'll tell you what the colors are, but we're not going to show every interior, exterior combination so you can walk around like it's a dealer's lot and pick it out. Wish we could. We really do wish we could. Right here.
The car is nice because we can travel with luggage room. With a mid-engine, that's the biggest concern. People haven't been able to travel. Are we going to be happy with the luggage?
7, 18, 19. And the black back there?
Will be coming out at that time?
7, 18, 19. Okay, that's 2.
Do you plan on continuing the Ron Fellows Spring Mountain program for the new car?
Yeah, yes, we do.
I don't see why not.
That's a great partnership we have with Ron Fellows Spring Mountain, and
we built something really solid there. And the reason we hesitate is because you're asking questions that we haven't even thought of. And of course, we're walking a very fine line here. You guys want to know as much as you can possibly squeeze out of us, and yet we're under essentially a legal obligation not to reveal anything. Our employment depends on keeping us. So if you like us, don't pressure us too much. Yes, right here.
Thank you for building such a world-class sports car for us.
said at the end, the only reason we can do it is you guys. And, you know, we stand on the shoulders of giants. That's why the recognition of Zora. And I've been coming here for a long, long time, you know, with Dave Hill for years, with the C5 and C6, you know, got Corvette back on the map kind of as a bread and butter car. Now we have leadership at General Motors who can't imagine General Motors without a Corvette. And so it's a really strong position to be in. And frankly, that's the reason we have an 8th generation coming. That's right here. I didn't see it. I don't know what. Do you guys know what?
I saw the photo. Beautiful.
Okay. You guys aren't getting tired yet.
How many years have you been working on that?
66? Basically since the early 60s. You know, since Zora started. You know, it's been on and off, I'll admit that. But yeah, it's been a long time coming. And, you know, there may be books written someday on the ins and outs, sort of the backstory, which is quite intriguing and interesting. But that's way, way back in the corner.
Any idea when the Team Corvette will transition to a C8? Turn around.
No guy's gonna ask that.
I want to know too.
Just like the Ron Fellows, we're super close partners with the race team. You know we've been working on that, and all will be announced in due time. Or, right here again. No, that was actually what we call an integration. It's actually a 2-year-old car. You've seen pictures of these cars out and about. We have no way to test them other than putting them out. You put them on a racetrack. We talk about how important aero is in here. You can only do so much camouflage. You have to test the real car so that when it gets in your hands, it's been thoroughly validated. So the answer is no, that's not the final car. It's one of the pre-production cars, a prototype car we built a couple years ago that we've been doing development work on for these last 2 years. I would guess that it's the most spy photo car in automotive history. So that was one of over 100 cars we actually built to test. Many of them are long gone, crashed into walls or whatever, you know, intentionally. A lot of safety testing.
I think we've already built more than Ford built on the GT.
In the dark back there.
What color is the car going to be that's going to be revealed?
It'll be one of the colors you can choose from. Which isn't always true. Sometimes people show a color you can't get. We intend to show maybe colors you can get.
It'll be a good one.
It'll be good. Yeah, sir. It's red. And so it would show up. Actually, the banner we put on the side of the car, we wanted to make sure it was visible. The car is camouflage, and so we were looking at a bunch of different ways to put the date on the side of the car. But just like you were asking about the cross flags on these shirts, it sort of disappears into the camouflage. So we had to put it on a black background, and then we wanted it to pop, be eye-catching in some way. So it was actually, design graphics people who came up with that. You guys are going to read into everything, though. I can see that. Yeah, it's right here. Approximate. There will be plenty of lead time for people who want to get there, if that's what you're asking.
I would say soon.
You heard it from Harlan. He may have revealed too much. Soon might be too much. Just look how bold he is. Okay. All right.
Any of the Americans without passports need to apply for one.
You told me you had you are an American citizen.
No, he's saying the Americans. He said, would any Americans? If we were going to reveal overseas, should they get? I think it's a good idea for all Americans to have a passport. I think it's just generally a good idea. You should see the world. You should be global. Any more? Here, red cap.
Will the museum have a display on the development of the C8 like they've done in the past of the previous cars? Like the Camaro that's back there?
Gosh, I hope so,
Yeah. I mean,
eventually.
we have it, obviously we're all early, but I'm sure that's something on the museum we'd totally be interested in.
And we talk, as we're going through the development process, we talk about, oh, this would be great for the museum someday. So we kind of earmark properties or whatever, videos or things that we're doing to develop a car that someday people might be interested in seeing in the museum.
Any significance in the number 7 plus 1 equals 8?
If you look at it in a mirror and then turn it upside down, you'll see the secret code.
Is it on anybody's birthday in here?
Okay, right here. I do not recall exactly, but I did just see a special on it.
And we do have the astronauts' cars right here at the museum.
Yep, it's a nice tie-in. Yes, back here.
Will there be any Zora recognition on the production car? Like a Zora head, or will there be anything on there?
On the current production car?
On the new production car,
Oh, you're asking, will there be an Easter egg someplace on the new car?
or something like that.
If I told you, it wouldn't be an Easter egg. Anybody else? Okay. It won't even be so.
Yes, there is a price range.
Thank you, Harold.
And to help.
In the red.
What engines are going to be available?
Anybody else want to take this one?
Every car will have at least one engine.
Yeah, now they're going to take that. One in the front and one in the back, I guess. Okay. You guys getting tired yet, or no? Okay. Don't forget, we weren't lying. Don't forget the pins on your way out. Thank you very much for coming.